think that was the magic beginner. So here we are. Welcome everyone to our, I believe this is our May meeting, and I will call it to order at 4:04 p.m. So before we get started, I would just like to say that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kmahi, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all Cree people. So at our April meeting, we discussed the fact that one introduction may not be enough for all of us to remember. Now, who is that person? What do they do? So we're going to do that again, just to cement all of our identities and whatnot in your brains. So I will start because I'm the one with the mic right now. My name is Andrew Taylor. I am the current chair of this committee, and I'm a professional volunteer. So I've got my hands in a whole lot of places regarding accessibility, and I'm very happy to be chairing this committee. So, Elizabeth, can you see your interpreter?
I can.
Excellent. Can you say a few words about who you are and introduce yourself again?
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought we were starting with somebody else. I didn't realize we were starting with me. I was a little startled there. My name is Elizabeth Dowell. I'm involved in lots of different projects as well, volunteering my time. Quite some time ago, I was heavily involved in the deaf community and lots of different volunteer capacities and different organizations and committees. So I'll just be short and sweet and I won't name them all.
Okay, Nicole McDonald, are you here today?
Yes, I am.
Can you introduce yourself to us, please?
Yes, my name is Nicole McDonald. I'm a disability advocate. I'm a wheelchair user. I've been on the board since 2020, and I can remember that because I think we had one in-person meeting, and then the rest has been online because of the pandemic. But yeah, I really enjoy being on this committee. I have a diploma in social services, graduated in 2017, and I currently work for Souls Harbor Rescue Mission.
Excellent. I'm glad you can be a part of this. Jackie Purcell, are you here?
I'm here, Mr. Chair. Hi, folks. I'm Jackie Purcell. I am on my second term with the committee. I am retired at this point. I worked for the Department of Community Services, both municipal and provincial, for about 38 years. My last position being that of the coordinator for the community-based option program. I enjoy the committee very, very much, and it's one of 3 volunteer commitments that I have. Thank you.
And thank you for your service. He is also my vice chair, so if I win the lottery during this meeting, Jackie will take over.
That's me.
Rochelle, are you here?
Hi, yes, I am here. Thank you.
Can
I
you
assume.
tell us about yourself and introduce and
Yeah. So my name is Rochelle Manette. I use they and she pronouns, and I am a queer and disabled community member. I also have a background in recreation therapy and like accessible sex practices. I'm a sexuality educator and the education coordinator for Venus NV Halifax, and my sort of like general interest and sort of specialization of what I do is creating accessible sex practices and working in whatever that kind of looks like. So yeah, and it's really lovely to be on this committee. Thanks.
thank you, Rochelle. You might, I just put a note in the chat, but advance apologies if I mispronounce any names. I have a tendency to do that, so just be aware. Jordan, are you here today?
Yes, I am chair, and my name is Jordan Waterbury. I am a member of the autistic community of differently abled individuals. I volunteer my time with a variety of religious and corporate social responsibility organizations. And I also live in Halifax, and yeah, I like to be on this committee, and I think it expands a lot of my experience with different boards and committees I've served on in religious community I'm a part of, as well as with my employer. So very happy to be here and to provide my services as a volunteer board member or committee member, sorry.
Thank you, Jordan. Kristen, you're on. Are you here?
I am here. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Hemming. I am very new to the board. Last year, I suffered 2 spinal cord injuries related to a medical condition. So I am now a full-time wheelchair user and experiencing navigating Halifax and HRM using a variety of mobility devices over the past year. My day job, I actually do patient and public engagement for the Health 30 half-time and rehab the other half of the time, just to try and recover from some injuries. So super excited to be able to meet you all and also kind of put face to the name to the background. So thanks.
Thank you, Kristen. Michelle, are you here? Annie, have we received any regrets for this meeting?
Thank you, Chair. I have not received regrets for this meeting, but I do not see Michelle here today.
Okay.
I remember her saying that she wasn't available for one meeting. I think it was this one. I remember her saying that last meeting.
Okay, then we're going to assume that she was referring to this meeting and move on to Councillor Russell.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Russell. I represent Lower Sackville, and I'm thrilled to be part of this committee. It has helped me come to a much better understanding of the challenges that those with disabilities face, and disabilities being whatever they happen to look like. And it's also helped me keep that much more top of mind. What I do in the community, I volunteer for a lot of community organizations out here. Currently working with Friends of First Lake and managing all sorts of stuff that's going on in Canada with Canada Day out here in Lower Sackville. Anyway, I'm very happy to be a part of this community and look forward to learning from all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. And now we'll go to Councillor Kathy Gammon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Anthony, when he did his introduction, though, he forgot to tell you that comedian extraordinaire. He's got some really good one-liners that we get to listen to every now and again on social media. So I always look for my smile, Andrew. I am the councillor for District 1, Waverley, Fall River, Musquodoboit Valley. And of course, I enjoy being on this committee because it brings my old world and my new world together. I spent the last 40 years before being elected to council in service with and for persons with an intellectual disability and those with a dual diagnosis, mental health and intellectual disability. Had the privilege of working with Jackie very closely on a couple of amazing projects and with Andrew as a volunteer on some projects as well. Thrilled this morning, and congratulations to Melissa Myers and the team at HRM that were involved with the flag raising and the Mel Heb Awards this morning at City Hall to launch Accessibility Awareness Week. So Access Awareness Week. So it was great. And always learning always learning. So it's great to be part of this committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Counselor, any, can you introduce yourself and let us know what your valuable contribution to this is? Annie.
Oh, sorry, Annie's just having a few technical disabilities or technical issues. If you could skip over her for now, she'll come back in a minute.
Okay. I did, and I did skip over Melissa and now Annie.
It was Annie actually having some technical issues, so maybe if you could skip over her and maybe go to Tracy, that'd be great.
I'll go with Tracy. Okay. Tracy, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Chair. I am Tracy Jones Grant. I'm the Managing Director for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, African Nova Scotian Affairs with the municipality, and my role is to provide support along with Melissa to the committee.
Excellent. Thank you for your contribution. Karina, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, we have two interpreters today. Karina is working right now, and the other one's Justin. We're both
Yes.
here in Halifax.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, Miss, let me check on here. Like I said, I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Barry, Miss Barry or Mr. Barry. I don't see you in my list. No. We are supposed to have a rep from Halifax Regional Library, and I'm not seeing them. So perhaps I will try again when we are all through, and hopefully they will arrive. Okay. Pat McGrath, are you here?
Oops, sorry, I had to find the unmute button.
No problem, Pat.
Yep. So my name is Pat McGrath. I'm the manager of aquatics and inclusion services for recreation programming within Parks and Rec.
Excellent. Thank you, Pat. Okay, we do have some members of the committee that couldn't be here today. They are Dave Nantow, supervisor of the Accessible Bus operations, Darren Young, and he is manager of building infrastructure, facility design, and construction. So without the ones that you have seen today, they will be around, and we have all met and heard from each other. So hopefully that can lead to a further cohesive committee on this very important issue. The minutes from the
Excuse me,
April 9th.
Mr.
Yes.
Chair, this is Jackie. I believe Michelle Mahoney has just joined us.
Oh, yes, thank you very much.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, everyone.
Michelle. Hi.
I'm
Can you
really
tell us-
sorry.
Yeah,
I
all
got
right.
stuck in traffic.
That's quite all right. So can you tell us a little bit about what you hope to get from this committee and what you hope to provide us with in terms of?
Sure. Thank you, Jackie, for telling everybody I was here. My name is Michelle Mahoney. I am a person that lives with a physical disability. I was born with a disability. I'm hoping to help in any way I can when it comes to education and advocacy. I kind of do that a lot on the side. I am a full-time employee at Dalhousie University in an administrative role. However, my strengths and my interests do lie in accessibility everything. And I just returned from a high performance adaptive water ski training camp in Florida. Like, who says that? Number one, right? How cool is that?
My response would be, who does that?
And Andrew, I know that you and I were just on a video for Cheers to Access. So
Yeah, I think that would be a neurologist's nightmare. However,
oh, a neurologist nightmare doing the water skiing?
yes,
Oh, you know what? No, I wanna get lots of people with disabilities involved in this. There's all kinds of adaptive equipment. It is unbelievable. It is like I even stood up to water ski when I was supported by somebody. I mean, unbelievable, unbelievable.
we'll have to have a chat later.
Yeah,
Now,
we will. I would love that. I would love that.
the minutes of the April 25th meeting were circulated, and I was wondering if I could have a motion to approve those minutes. But I have a motion to approve those minutes.
I would so move, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Jackie?
Jackie.
This
Kathy
is
will
Rochelle. I'll second. Oh,
Rochelle,
Oh,
thank you.
Rochelle.
Thank you very much. I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hands. Okay. Any opposed?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to point out that Annie has her hand raised. I'm not sure if that, if you have seen that or not.
I do now. Thank you very much, Mr. Russell. Okay. So then we have the motion carried. You have all seen, I hope, the approval of the order of business. Do you have any approval, any additions or deletions?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Excellent, thank you very much. I should also add that they're doing construction on my building still. So if you hear what sounds like drilling, it is. It's been that way for a while, but if you hear it, that's why it is.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Melissa and Annie have rejoined us as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jackie, for looking after that. I'm going through the agenda so I don't miss anything. Okay, so we have a mover of the no deletions or additions. Do we have a seconder for that? Did I miss that?
Second.
Ooh.
Thank you, Kristen. All those in favor, please say yes, yay, or raise your hands. Okay, thank you. Any opposed? Motion carried. Rochelle, I'm going to assume that you were fixing your hair and not opposed to.
yes, sorry, I tend to do that. So I
No
often turn my camera off.
No problem at all. All right, so the motion has carried. Now we have business arising out of the minutes. So, there we go. We do not have any business arising. Excellent. Do we have any declarations for a conflict of interest? Hearing none, we should proceed. We have no deferred business. Annie, do we have any correspondence?
Thank you, Chair, and my apologies. I am having some technical difficulties today, but my name is Anna Sharon. I'm the clerk of the committee. There was correspondence received for this meeting. It was just general correspondence and it was circulated to the
committee. Okay. Petitions. Do we have any petitions?
Thank you, Chair, and there have been no notification of petitions to the clerk's office.
Thank you for that. I would, Melissa has written her position into the chat. So if you draw your attention to that, you will know what her many skills are. Do we have any presentations? Hearing none. Information items brought forward, we have none. We have reports, excellent. Culture and Heritage Priorities Plan update and consultation. So Kurt and Devin, I will ask you to start with that.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thanks. My name is Aaron Murnahan. I'm the Principal Planner for Heritage with Regional Planning. I supervise the Heritage Property Program for HRM. I'm also project managing Sharing Our Stories, which is the Culture and Heritage Priorities Plan. And this committee has been presented with updates on this plan twice in the past. But our intention today is for any new members to bring you up to speed with where this project is, but also to present our draft actions that pertain specifically to the accessibility community that are going to be included in the CHPP going forward. So I'm just going to share my screen and we'll just go through a quick presentation. And if the chair could just let me know when you see that shared screen, please.
I see it, yes.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, Sharing Our Stories is the Culture and Heritage Priorities Plan. A priorities plan essentially is, it's a functional plan that will inform the regional municipal planning strategy, which is sort of the highest level of policy direction that we have for planning in the municipality. There's other priorities plans that have been completed recently, such as the Green Network Plan, the Integrated Mobility Master Plan, etc. So this is the last and final of those priorities plans that is going to be moving forward to council. We've been working on it now for about 3 years, and we've done a significant amount of engagement, and hopefully the end is in sight on this. And I'm hoping that we've gotten things right. And our intention today is to get a little bit of feedback from your community or from your committee to see if we are on the right track with the actions that we're presenting, but also to see if you've got other ideas that you could share with us with regards to these actions today. So as I mentioned, priorities plans will be really informing the regional municipal planning strategy. We've, for this project, come up with 4 pillars. Those are stewardship, connection, celebration, and access. And under each of those pillars, we've got a number of actions that pertain to many diverse communities across HRM. We've really focused engagement in this project on traditionally underrepresented communities such as the African Nova Scotian community, immigrants and newcomers, the LGBTQ2S+ community, as well as the accessibility community. So we met with a number of stakeholders, and we will also be following up with members of the public and other stakeholders that we've identified through the course of the project with a survey, as well as with information on our website, and we'll be eliciting some more responses from the public as part of that. It's important to note that CHPP, this project, is really the first step of many towards implementing a lot of the actions that we're going to discuss today. The actions are fairly high level, but they will result in specific projects that will likely take place at some point in the future that will also include a significant amount of engagement with pertinent stakeholders. So that's something that's really important to keep in mind. So who we've engaged to date, as I mentioned, we've engaged this committee twice, in 2019 and in 2021. So if there's any new members since then, this is really, I'm hoping that we can bring you up to speed a little bit with the project. We met with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind through a virtual meeting, the Nova Scotia League of Equal Opportunity, and the Canadian Paraplegic Association. In terms of what we heard through our engagement, the responses that we've heard have been compiled in a What We Heard report, and that is accessible publicly, and I'd be happy to share that with members of the community, with the committee, if they would like to have a look at that. really detailed summary of the responses that we've received. But we can essentially put everything that we've heard into 3 categories. Those are diverse voices and celebrations, access, and cultural promotion. Broadly speaking, under diverse voices and celebrations, we've heard that we should recognize and profile underrepresented communities through the work that we do, that we should partner with communities in terms of celebrations and events and preparing for those events, that we should present culturally relevant programming through everything that we do, and we should diversify the engagement that we undertake and adopt a cultural lens when we're dealing with all communities in HRM. Under access, we should provide accessible, affordable, and inclusive activities. We should provide equitable and sustainable grants and funding. We should undertake digital transformation to enhance success to culture in HRM, and we should improve transportation infrastructure and make it more accessible. Under cultural promotion, we should establish cultural hubs and creative spaces at all of our municipal facilities. We should broaden HRM's role in cultural tourism, and we should promote cross-cultural interaction. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Devin. I should introduce Devin as our African Nova Scotian Cultural Heritage Intern, who's been working closely with us on this project. I also have Kurt Pyle here, who's the manager for Heritage, and he has been integral in the project as well. And we've been working closely with Melissa Myers, who is the accessibility advisor for D&I. I'll pass it over to you, Devin. Is Devin still with us? We might have lost Devin, so I can take us through the actions if you'd like. Under celebrating diverse voices, one of the first actions that we have pertaining to the accessibility community is develop a fiscal framework and review existing criteria as phase 2 of the Cultural Spaces Plan to establish an annual application-based grant program for funding requests over $100,000 for the development or renewal of significant cultural facilities that support diversity, equity, access, and capacity. Under access, action 4.2.1, forward accessibility considerations when planning civic events, including ensuring social and cultural accessibility, introducing quiet and low sensory environments at our events, develop accessibility standards for parking and public transportation, provide described events, and promote HRM's accessibility framework, among others. And finally, under cultural promotion, we should develop conservation management plans for all municipally owned heritage properties and assets to ensure appropriate levels of conservation, maintenance, and upgrades to meet accessibility, environmental, and heritage conservation standards. And this is really a cross-section of a number of actions that touch on accessibility, and we'd really be happy to provide a draft of this plan to members of this committee if they'd be interested in reading it. And we'll also be developing a executive summary of the plan that will give you an overview of what it covers. In terms of implementation, we've got a number of actions within the plan that we consider rapid implementation. So these are actions that are really already underway or already being implemented. And a lot of those are community directed, and the municipality will play a supporting role in those, especially where they pertain to empowering communities. We have a number of actions that involve co-creation. So those involve the end user of programs and projects or policies, and decisions in those cases will be made by consensus between the municipality and the communities that we're engaging with. And we also have a number of actions that fall under collaboration. So those involve community partners and external organizations and the public that will be provided an opportunity to give input, and decisions will ultimately be made in those cases by the municipality. So that's how we have been using what we've been hearing from the stakeholder groups. So I'm going to turn it back to the committee. If you've got any questions or comments for us, if you feel like we're on the right track with the actions that I've mentioned, like to hear how the committee would like to be engaged through the end of the process. And if you feel that we've been hitting the right marks in terms of engagement so far. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
And thank you, and we will do just that here in our speaking list. Liz, do you have anything you'd like to address?
Actually, I do have a question, but I'd also maybe like to see what the discussion involves before I make my comments. So if I could just wait and not be first, that'd be great.
Sure.
If we could do that. So I was just, because I was wondering about the different organizations that were involved. So I'm just wondering what everyone else has to say before we move along. And also just before that happens, I want to mention that I noticed that the deaf community wasn't or didn't appear to be involved in any of the communication thus far. So I was wondering if there's any intentions of having them involved. And then I'd like to listen to the rest of everyone's comments before I can actually make any sort of comment.
I'd be happy to speak to that right now, if you'd like, through you, Mr. Chair. So because of the timelines involved with this project and a lot of the delays that we unfortunately encountered through COVID, et cetera, we had to be quite strategic with a lot of the groups that we've engaged with in person or through Zoom or Teams virtually. The idea was from the outset of the project that we would really try and meet with a small number of groups that broadly represent various communities within HRM, but that we would also engage with the broader public and with other groups through things like surveys, sharing information online, and also sharing directly with members of those organizations remotely, but not necessarily having in-person meetings. Unfortunately, one of my team members who has been coordinating some of that engagement is not with us today. I can certainly circle back and see if we have reached out in writing to organizations that represent the deaf community. That's basically the approach that we've been taking is meeting with small numbers of groups that represent the various diverse communities that we've targeted as part of the plan.
Okay, and yes, Liz, I'll circle back to you as well toward the end to see if there's anything that you would like to address. So Councillor Russell, do you have anything to address?
At this point, I don't.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Councillor Diego Gammon, do you have anything you want to address to that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yes, Aaron, you mentioned whether or not the committee would like to see the actual plan. And I guess as one member of the committee, I would very much. Thank you. I think that would be great. I'm a little curious about, so when we talk about this as, the culture and heritage, how does this transition into all HRM owned facilities kind of thing? How do we look at that?
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mr. Chair. These priorities plans, and this one especially, will be speaking to a number of other documents and referencing them going forward, such as the facilities master plan and many others. And that's really how these actions get implemented, is either by implementing existing policy direction that council has already given us through those various master plans or strategies, or they'll be directing changes to those documents when those documents are amended or creating individual projects moving forward. So that's really how it's going to be implemented. There's sort of three ways. One, as I mentioned, updating existing strategies, speaking to existing policies that exist, or creating new programs and policies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Jordan, is there anything you would like to follow up on?
Yeah, sure. I in my job, I am a an IT specialist with a large technology consulting firm in HRM. And I think this was a very well done presentation. And I would also echo Councillor Dago Gammon and wanting to see the either the executive summary of the plan or the detailed surveys and reports as well. I have a keen interest in it because I did a BBA in employment relations at Acadia, and this kind of matches up for what I do as employment and as a day job. And I have a very big interest in project management and would like to bring some of that to the committee. And I think it was a very well done presentation, as I said. And I don't have any other feedback other than I would have echoed what Liz said as someone who's involved as a recipient of services from Autism Nova Scotia. That I kind of did wonder, like, oh, why isn't that group or this group maybe not approached? But I do understand your constraints, having worked in project management and implementation myself. There are, you do have to make strategic decisions, and I understand that. And respect that. But yeah, I also like the acknowledgement of low sensory and environments as an autistic individual, because I've gone to events and had to leave due to sensory overload, and I like that that's being considered as part of the culture and heritage plan here. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thanks so much for those words. And I should mention that although we've been quite limited in terms of the groups that we've reached out to, it's important to acknowledge as well that as part of a lot of other recent projects that HRM has undertaken, we've done a significant amount of engagement with various communities, including the accessibility community. So we've taken a lot of that recent feedback as well and considered that as part of this plan moving forward.
Kristen, you're up. Do you have anything?
I am curious what the timeline is for this, or if there is one, or I know COVID makes timelines looser, but I'm curious about that. And yeah, as others have said, I would be interested in reading it because a few of the things that are in there have already, I'm quite happy with, especially the physical accessibility parts, but know that accessibility is not just about the physical structures. So, but yeah, only questions just about timeline.
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. And that's a good reminder for me to discuss what the next steps are. Right now, we are just finishing up engagement specifically with our Indigenous community and African Nova Scotian communities, as well as this committee, obviously. Once we compile the comments and feedback from those final meetings, our intention is to share the draft and the What We Heard report and a copy of the survey with all of the groups that we've met with and all of the committees that we've met with. And we'll then be sharing that draft with members of the Community Development Community, help me here, Kurt. Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee. My apologies. So members of that committee, including a number of councillors, will have an opportunity to make some comments on the draft. And at that point, I'll be sharing that with this committee and a number of others. So that'll probably be in the next month or two. And then we'll be going more broadly out to the public and sharing access to our website, which will have the executive summary and a copy of the survey and a very detailed explanation of the project and its goals and what we've heard so far. And the public will have an opportunity to give comments through our website as well. So the hope is to have everything finished up by late summer or early fall of 2022. So we will likely be going to council, I would hope, September, October.
Thank you.
Okay. Michelle, do you have anything you'd like to mention?
No, I was just wondering next steps too. Oh, did you say Rochelle or Michelle?
I said Michelle.
Michelle.
I'll use Miss Mahoney. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, just so we're all clear on what sounds like that.
Sorry,
All right,
Rochelle.
Nicole, do you have anything?
No, I was just commenting it's a good idea because I was wondering same thing if you said Michelle or Michelle. So thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Jackie, do you have anything to discuss?
Yes, please, Mr. Chair. It was a question, but now it's turned into a comment. I guess I was wondering, in particular, as disabilities span across many, many groups, I was thinking in particular about the Indigenous community, as well as the Acadian community. Again, I appreciate the fact that you can only go so far, whether it's COVID or not, because I think we're living now and COVID is kind of, then we have to get on. Just again, was the Acadian community included at all with that? I'm also thinking about the immigrant community. In my last number of days working with the province, and when the 3,000 folks came from Syria, I know we did a lot of work around individuals with disabilities that had been part of that group that had come in. So I think it's very important to look at that group as well. And thank you. That was just a couple comments.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for that that question. I can list off actually the communities that we have really been focusing on as part of our engagement. So they include the Indigenous, including the urban Indigenous and Métis communities, African Nova Scotian community, the Acadian and Francophone community, immigrants and newcomers, LGBTQS+, and the accessibility community. So those are really the key communities that we have been focusing on with in-person meetings as part of the engagement process.
Thank you.
Okay. Rochelle, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. I will also, be listening for the different names now. Thank you for that presentation. I think that was really all useful information to have. My main question is around, like, it's a two-parter, I suppose. When were most of these consultations done, like with folks who are sort of part of like the disability and accessibility community? And has anything, like, how has the sort of lack of restrictions or new lack of restrictions among like COVID and safety precautions affected some of this stuff? And if that's being taken into account at this point?
Absolutely, and through you, Mr. Chair, I might get Melissa to fill in anything that I might be missing with this, because we've been working very closely with her as the accessibility advisor with diversity and inclusion. All of the meetings that we've held with the accessibility communities to date have been virtual. So that's been done through COVID, but just in terms of scheduling some of those, the pandemic did provide, a few setbacks, unfortunately. But we've tried to make those as inclusive as we possibly can, but we've really been meeting with sort of director level decision makers within the various stakeholder organizations that we've been meeting with. And in some cases, they've included the members of their communities as well. But the hope is that we can broaden out that engagement with the next step through our website and through the public survey that we're going to be distributing. And we would even ask members of this committee if there are folks that you know of who might be interested in providing feedback to us, that you can share the link to the website and the survey with those interested individuals or groups. Melissa, am I missing anything? You might have a much better explanation of how we came up with our engagement strategy.
No, I think you hit it right on the head. It's because of COVID, we did a lot with virtual, and a lot of the platform was using Zoom, which we recognize is more accessible. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to add.
Great, thank you. And just sort of as a follow-up and to reiterate, because I think I made things sound confusing. In terms of like plans moving forward, is there, I guess, like planning within this plan to keep things like virtual or offer hybrid events, or ask for, you know, like while we're looking at accessibility, kind of to add like safety precautions, whether it's masking or vaccination or what have you? If that's going, if like COVID precautions are going to be a part of this plan as well from like an accessibility standpoint.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would say that there are certainly organizational decisions that will likely be made to adapt to the new sort of COVID reality moving forward. A lot of those are in place already. Whether they stay in place or not, I'm not sure. But really, a lot of the actions that pertain to this plan or will be coming out of this plan will involve additional engagement, best practice review, and working specifically with stakeholders and experts in various areas to ensure that we're doing things the way we should be. And a lot of those actions will require another staff report that will go to this committee and to council that will ensure that we're doing those things the right way. So this is not the end of any of these actions or these points. It's really just giving us the direction to start those projects, and they will all have their own engagement and best practice review.
Thank you.
Okay, Liz, I'm going to return to you. Do you have anything to add?
We're just checking in for clarification. We're good here already. So do you want me to speak directly to this project, or what specifically would you like me to speak to?
What were you thinking about when we started off?
Okay, sure. I actually have two things. I think that having the Zoom meetings is great. It keeps people from having to go out and travel, saves money, saves time, can be safer for individuals who aren't able to travel easily or have low immunity. It also is really great for deaf individuals with having interpreters just popping up online and having them already there and not having to have interpreters come into that space as well. I'm not really safe. I don't really feel safe going out into the community just yet, even with a mask on. I still like to be able to be at home and be online. And when I'm home and online, I can see everyone's face. I can lip read. I can do a little bit of understanding the grammar on individual spaces, the interpreter spaces. It's a lot harder to communicate when I'm in person with mask wearing. And I did actually have a question as well. So with the culture piece, I'm not exactly sure how that piece is working, where you're speaking about talking to different communities and that sort of thing. Is there any sort of talk of working with those communities in order to have like a place to sort of gather or anything like that? I know generally, I think when you're dealing with the community, you're going to their individual spaces, but does the Culture and Heritage Department, do you actually have a location where everyone's sort of come together and meet with you? Because I know a lot of hearing organizations, for instance, do have maybe a space where they can meet and deal with culture and heritage and that sort of thing. But the deaf community, we don't really sort of have a hub or a place where we come together to be able to share as a community. And if we wanted to do something like that, would that be something that you'd be able to support the community with funding or staffing or whatever the case may be?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. So one of the actions in the plan actually speaks to creating more accessible spaces, but also spaces for specific and distinct communities to come together within our municipal facilities. So we don't specifically know what that's going to look like yet, because that will require some additional engagement. It will require working with other municipal departments to see what that is actually going to look like. Whether that's supporting existing spaces, making them more accessible, whether it's creating new spaces within municipal facilities or parkland or wherever. So there's a number of opportunities that we'll be identifying, and we'll be engaging with each of those stakeholder communities as part of reviewing those options and presenting them to regional council.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
And I should just clarify as well, I did mention that we're sort of highlighting existing policy direction that we've received over the years through various master plans and strategies and policy. But two things that we are emphasizing and really helping to strengthen are the existing accessibility framework and the diversity inclusion framework. So we're ensuring that we're not running counter to any of the policy direction that either of those documents are presenting or that have sort of settled on. We're really just strengthening and emphasizing the direction that that those give us.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Devin, for your presentation. We have a lot to think about, and I imagine you do as well as we continue with this large piece of the Halifax Culture Plan.
Thank you all for your time, and we'll make sure to get you a copy of those actions and a copy of the plan as soon as we can.
Thank you, sir. So with that, let's move on to Tracy Jones and your presentation. Tracy, are you ready to present to us?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I certainly am. But before I begin, I thought I would just open up the floor to the accessibility advisor for the municipality, for Melissa to actually do her own introduction so that people know who she is and she can say hi to everybody.
Hi, thanks, Tracy, for putting me on the spot.
Part of what I do.
No. So, good evening, folks. As I mentioned in the chat, my name is Melissa Myers. I am the accessibility advisor here at HIM. I'm also the staff liaison person to help support this community, which I really enjoy this work. And I work closely with Annie and Andrew and Jack. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. So what I wanted to do this evening is just a little quick discussion, won't take us too long, about the role of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. As you're getting into section 9.1.2.3, I believe it is, where you're going to be looking at your upcoming work plan. And because there are so many new members of the committee, I thought this would be a perfect time to kind of share some of where I feel the committee can have some influence in the organization, and to make this more than just, meeting once a month and things like that. So what I did was I took some time to reflect on the terms of reference of the committee. I also took some time to reflect on my involvement with the committee from when I joined the organization in 2015 and looking at where we are today. So when I look at specifically in the terms of reference, what is the role of the advisory committee? And I don't know if we've taken much time to really talk about what that role would look like. The other thing that I would say, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, if there are questions while I'm speaking, I can happily stop and people can ask me questions at any time. Sometimes it's hard to hold on to questions. So when I look at the terms of reference, which you all should have a copy of, there's some clear reasons why this committee exists: to ensure that municipal policies, programs, and service do not impose barriers to participation; to ensure that this committee has a role in increased civic and community awareness regarding the disability community by promoting effective communications; And the third piece is to voice your views on disability and other issues affected by monitoring the effectiveness of municipal policies, programs, and services. So tonight we had the pleasure of Planning Division coming and presenting the Cultural Heritage Priorities Plan. And I think you had some really key questions about who's being consulted, when are people being consulted, and those types of things. So one of the pieces that I think would be really important as part of the work of this committee is to have a little bit more say on what the municipality is doing and how this impacts persons with disabilities. So you're probably thinking, oh, that's great, Tracy, and we're supposed to know what the municipality is doing? And I'm thinking, well, no, not really. But this is where Melissa's and my job could be better for your committee. We are often engaged in what activities, policies, and things that are happening at the city that do get brought to us. And as part of perhaps a gender review or as part of your requests, we can provide the right people to come and speak to you about what is happening. You also have the ability to make motions to request staff information. One of the committees that I'm currently involved in, the Women's Advisory Committee, was brand new. And really, they didn't know hardly anything about what was happening in the municipality. And they also wanted to know what was happening in the community as far as, gender equity and gender issues. One of the conversations that's being had is the impact of homelessness on gender and homelessness. So these are the types of conversations that this committee could also be having and asking the municipality for information. Because as we look at moving towards Accessibility 2030, the provincial's mandate, I feel that this committee could have quite an eye on how we are moving forward with that work. Melissa leads our accessibility strategy, and I hope that you all have a copy of that. That strategy lays out what we hope to do in the municipality over the next few years to reach 2030. Your role as the Accessibility Advisory Committee is to ask those questions. You could be asking us, how are we moving along in this area? We would like a report, or we would like a presentation, or we would like to learn more about what is happening. I think that'll also help you in playing a role in having some impact on policy and on actions of the municipality. Having been involved with this committee only since 2015, so not too long, has allowed me to see how this committee can have some significant influence. And Jackie, you would have been around for this. At one time, a business unit of the municipality came forward with a plan that was completed and basically was looking for the Accessibility Committee to say, yes, we agree. Stepping out of my role and getting in a little bit of trouble, I said to the committee, you haven't had a chance to really look at this. Maybe you don't want to just rubber stamp it, which resulted in delaying the process, having a special meeting. But for me, that meant that the committee had true input and influence on that piece of work, with just somebody coming at the end of the process and saying, we want you to rubber stamp this. That was exciting. That changed in a way how we've done things. And since then, more groups are coming to us beforehand instead of after the fact. And Jackie, you can remember that one. That was a very brave move of the committee. So I'm also suggesting that you look into your objectives of the committee. the duties of the committee. So it says, this committee has a role in reviewing and monitoring existing and proposed municipal bylaws. Well, for goodness sake, how are you to know what new bylaws or policies are coming up? But you might know some that currently exist that you might have concerns with, or that you might want to know, how are these impacting accessibility in the municipality? So I'm not very good at bylaws, but let's just say unsightly premises bylaw. I'm just picking something off the top of my head. When we think about unsightly premises, and let's just say there's a particular home with a person with disabilities lives in, and they can't get out to mow their lawn all the time, and they're constantly being badgered with bylaw tickets or whatever. Have we looked at that policy through the lens of equity, inclusion, accessibility, to maybe say there's pieces of this that we should be looking at through the Accessibility Advisory Committee? I'm just picking up any old bylaw, but this is something that you can do as a committee and bring that forward to the Executive Standing Committee and say, we've decided to look at bylaw ABC through an accessibility lens, and we would like to recommend the following be considered. Also, you have a role to identify and advise on the accessibility of existing and proposed municipal services and facilities. Again, you won't know necessarily what new facilities are coming or going or whatever, but you can always ask for that information. There might be something that's happening in your current area or people in the community that have raised a concern with you. These are things that the Accessibility Advisory Committee can put their eye on. Really, what I'm trying to do is say, you have a real opportunity as the Accessibility Advisory Committee to influence municipal services. The other neat thing, I'll put our friends from council on the hotspot, you have two amazing counselors on the committee. Who most certainly, and I'm sure I can't speak for Councillor Russell or Councillor Daigle Gammon, but most certainly would be willing to share, this is what's happening at council this month, or this is what we talked about last month. And it might spur something that this committee might want to address. It's a piece that we've added to the Women's Advisory Committee so that they always have the opportunity to ask some questions of council. Finally, it talks about host community consultations related to accessibility, including the town hall meeting. So your bylaws say including the town hall meeting. So that doesn't stop you from necessarily consulting with the community if you're looking to the community for what items they feel this committee should be discussing. So my piece today was really about bringing forward to the committee this beautiful opportunity that you have to influence government, to share your thoughts on, the work that we do in government, to let you know that Melissa and I and others are resources to the committee. You can't necessarily guide our work. Our work is set by the CAO. So the CAO can tell us what to do. But you can always do a motion to council requesting the CAO request a staff report. Or, maybe through your counselors present at the committee, you might want to have a different motion. But I guess what I'm trying to also say is embrace your authority, embrace this opportunity that we have, especially as we move forward to Accessibility 2030, to help influence and shape what's happening in municipal government, because these are really, truly exciting times. And as I said, Melissa and I are here to do your bidding, to provide resources, to share information when we have information, provide you with information, at request. So really that I wanted to put before you as you looked at your work plan for the upcoming year, because maybe there's things that you want to think about or you want to look at in the upcoming year. And through the clerk's office, they can guide us really as to, well, yeah, we can do that, and no, we can't do that. So they're the experts on the what we can and cannot do. Our team are the experts more so on providing you with the information on the things that you can do, if that makes any sense. So, Mr. Chair, that was really what I wanted to put on the table today. And through you, I open the floor up for any questions or clarifications. And I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Tracy. Nicole, do you have anything you'd like to comment on?
No, thank you.
Okay, Jackie?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tracy, thank you very, very much. I think we need to be reminded at times, and I say this very respectfully. There's been times I've felt very controlled in the setting of the committee, so thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Rochelle, do you have anything?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much, Tracy. I sort of, to echo what Jackie said, yeah, not that I feel controlled, but sometimes I don't exactly know what I'm supposed to be doing here. I find like I've tried to read over what our like objectives are and stuff like that, but things get very jargony. That's a word. And I get very confused as to like what my role is supposed to be, and what I'm allowed to request and what kind of things we can like push for versus where we just have to listen and suggest things. So this was very helpful in reminding me, at least, that like we do have some power here and there's a reason we all gather together once a month. I really liked your idea on like having maybe like a monthly report on what's being talked about at council, so that we can have some feedback or some questioning around that. I think that would be something useful to keep us in the loop of what's going on. Like I would really appreciate that. And yeah, like I personally have a list of things I would like to bring up and, find out who the right people to bring in would be to give us information on what's going on. I mean, like, housing and home care and like public washroom access and things like that. Stuff that I find is always, I don't know, and like transportation and parking and stuff, things that I interact with on a regular basis and have a lot of feelings about, but don't really know like what to do with those. And so I'm thankful that you've brought all this up and am looking forward to doing something with it, I hope.
And through you, Mr. Chair, those are excellent and exciting pieces of conversation. So as I said, the clerk's office can guide us as to, well, that's not something, but this is. But let's just pick parking and transportation. You can request to have the lead for parking come in and have a conversation around that. It doesn't, they can do a presentation or whatever, and then the committee can have some of those conversations. This is why we need this committee. It's important to, so if you don't walk in the shoes, right? If you don't maneuver through life, it's like, I carry a particular lens on a lot of the work that I do, and to be able to share my perspective from my particular lens is always exciting for me. So that's why this committee is so important. We as a municipality want to do good things, and we need the guidance of this committee to help us do that.
Thank you.
Can I go next? I'm like busting at the seams here. It's Michelle.
Yes,
Miss Mahoney, Andrew, can I, or sorry, Mr.
yes,
Chairman,
Ms.
can I go
Mahoney,
next?
you can go, yes.
Oh my gosh, Tracy, like you're, and Rochelle, I'm like, oh my God, you're speaking my language. So I'm really curious. I would love to, talk to somebody about parking. So I can drive and I can go, I drive downtown, but I recently had to go to the QE2 or the infirmary for an appointment, and I can't park in the parkade because I can't take a ticket. So I park in the Veterans Memorial Building and hope and pray I'm not going to get a ticket. But I also can't take the, not to tell you all my personal story or anything, but I can't take a ticket at the pay and display thing as well. So as I'm walking into the hospital, there's a sign there that says to download this app. Well, yeah, I did have my phone on me, but I do well to walk and stay upright, walking, but I can't text and do all that. So I just took my chances. And then I did get a ticket. Yes, I was parked in accessible parking, but it was the Veterans Memorial Building lot. And I could hardly reach the ticket on my windshield when I came. So, there's got to be something, yes, I know it's a private lot and there's all kinds of spots. I can tell you where there's a half dozen spots downtown because I know where they are. But, like what is somebody in a situation like myself supposed to do if I'm mobile and I can drive a vehicle, but I can't take a ticket? Like what, what about a senior who doesn't have a phone and doesn't have that, that luxury to download an app or whatever, so these are really, really great. So Rochelle, as soon as you said parking, I'm like, yes, like we need to figure out what does somebody that cannot completely at all access stuff like that, what are we to do?
Part of the dilemma is that there are private spaces that we as a municipality don't own. But again, our parking expert might have had those conversations or might be able to share that information. We have a wonderful, wonderful lead for parking. They met with us quite a few times as we moved to this new parking thingy that even I can't figure out how to work, but they met with us. We talked a lot about accessibility. They're truly an amazing person. Can we influence what happens in the hospital parking? I'm not too sure, and I could never speak for that. But the fact remains that we can have those conversations, and perhaps our parking person might even just be able to let somebody know, right? But I'm not, again, I can't speak for the private stuff. I can speak for the municipally owned. Well, I can't even speak for the municipally owned because I don't do parking, but we can speak for the municipally owned spaces and places to ensure that we're conscious and working towards accessibility.
What does somebody in my situation do, right? Like, is this not an excellent scenario? What do we do, right? I have the parking, I have the thing in my car so that I can go over the bridge. I have the thing in my car so that I can go through the Cobequid Pass. Although as a Nova Scotia, you don't have to pay for that anymore. However, what can we do for people like myself? Because I'm sure that I'm not the only person.
And again, maybe this is something Melissa sits on a variety of provincial committees. So, there's, again, for me, these are real opportunities for discussion for this committee and things that people can get excited about. But I don't want to set us up for failure. I don't want us to, kind of go down a route where we can't influence. And if we can't influence, then the clerk's office can help guide us back to where we belong, I'm sure. So, but it's the opportunity to think about where does this committee have influence and when are we going to use that influence? Thank you.
All right, I am going to go back to my vice chair. She has some comments and we don't want to lose out on those insights. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And it was just, I guess, again, a follow-up to Tracy's presentation. And as I sit here, Councillor Daigle-Gammon, I think about our background and the folks we've worked with. This comes from my heart and from true respect. When I sit on the committee and being here in the second term, many, many times we're looking at people with mobility issues, disabilities related to mobility. I would officially like to request a presentation related to individuals with intellectual disabilities and challenges and barriers they may find with accessibility in the HRM. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jackie.
So, Mr. Chair, sorry, this is Annie here. And so I just wanted to follow up and say that this conversation with Tracy is taking place before the work plan. It's specifically because the work plan is one of the main ways that we implement those pieces. So that was the intention for this to kind of be like a partnered kind of piece here between the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, NANCEO, and the clerk's office. For this is the inspiration for how we can move forward together, and then kind of having that initial conversation today about the direction setting for the committee. So that.
Oh, Annie, I think we may have lost you.
Yeah, I see a hand still raised, but no audio. So
Must be frozen or something.
Yeah, she keeps getting kicked off, she says.
yeah. Okay. Well, Councillor Russell, do you have anything to address?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I have just messaged Annie over Teams to let her know that we can't hear her. So I don't know if she's going to be leaving the meeting and coming back or not. I do appreciate the reminder about asking for additional things, about looking for different sets of information from different sources. That's one of the things I really like about this committee, which is different from every other committee in that this reminds me to look at everything with the set of lenses for this committee. It is not just mobility issues, it is sight issues, it is hearing issues, it is just every other lens that we don't normally look at things with. And absolutely, being able to, Michelle, you nailed it. What do you do when you're in that situation? We may not be able to influence what happens at the province or with the federal government, but come here and it can certainly have a very direct influence on what happens municipally. And it's great to be able to have it be considered all the way through the process instead of, as Tracy mentioned, just a rubber stamp at the end of it. We have seen many, many situations where, yeah, we'll go out and we'll present to someone and then call it consultation, and it's not. It has to be more engagement, and this committee does a very good job of making sure that that engagement actually happens. I have nothing further to add at this point. I just I do appreciate the reminders about what this committee is able to ask for and to look for and should be looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Daigle-Gammon, sorry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Tracy, very much. It's kind of like, it's good to have that reminder and kind of blow the doors out a little bit. When I first started on this committee, I actually very purposefully kind of took a step back in a way, right? Because you wanted to hear the first person voice around people with disabilities on this committee, and the world that we live in, and how we're going to make it a better and a more inclusive HRM. But I did find a little bit of the work plan light, I'll have to say. And so trying to figure out how do we put more depth and breadth into what the committee gets to do. And so I wonder, we've got a work plan and there's 3 very specific items there, but I'm almost wondering, because we do have new members in a new group, is there an opportunity to kind of come together in person and workshop a little bit of, here's the terms of reference, what do we think fits within that, and brainstorm together a little bit to be able to refine, and then, build that work plan a little bit more fuller than it is right now. But it has been really hard in COVID and meeting virtually, understanding each other, having shared understanding about what the role is on the committee and what we can and cannot do. So it would be so beneficial, I think, for me, if there was a way that we could do that and come together and just brainstorm and talk out loud, and, not be confined by, the rules of a committee meeting at the moment. So just wondering if that's an option.
I think if we don't have Annie back, we can make note of that.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm having so many technical difficulties today and trying to keep in touch with everybody here. I think that these are all great ideas, and we have been able to do sessions like the orientation session outside of the official kind of like capacity of the meeting space, particularly in a virtual setting. I do think that this is something I'm going to have to come back to the committee with on structure, because I agree that being able to come together outside of the committee structure is definitely a good opportunity for everybody to be able to engage a bit more, especially with like time constraints of a 2-hour meeting and other things that are going on the agenda on top of that. So I can certainly come back to the committee with an opportunity for a further like special meeting on brainstorming, or like thinking about the ways that we can also like make that more interactive with everyone as well. But I know that the Youth Advisory Committee used a Google Jamboard in the past to be able to kind of do some brainstorming in real time. But I recognize that that might not work for everyone. So I would suggest that I would need to check in on my end to make sure that we can facilitate that in a way that is, truly inclusive for everyone here.
And I don't know, Annie and colleagues on that committee, if it is something that does interest you, to be able to come together and do this kind of a workshop-y thing, but it would be good.
Okay. Jordan, do you have anything to comment on?
I do. And I enjoyed that presentation, Tracy. And it was very refreshing to hear what you had to say, because I echo a lot of the committee members and the regional councillors' comments. I am on a number of committees with the Anglican Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, and sometimes you do get a little confined by the structure of a committee and Robert's rules, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that it's very important in terms of the structure of the public sector to do so. But when people say about coming together, I think of my role as an IT consultant, and what my employer does as a large technology consulting firm is they bring a lot of clients together in their business transformation arm, and they do these sessions, and they're very good to do with clients and to be in person at least once in a while. And I think that can be done in a hybrid manner. It can be done in an accessible manner. It just has to be very well thought out. And I think Annie brought up a lot of good points there in having to take it back and to kind of brainstorm about it. I do have experience in enterprise design thinking and agile working through my employer. So I think that there's a lot of different expertise and a lot of different lenses to bring to this committee. And I think that it would be great to get together in person and or in a hybrid format to do that, because as a person who is neurodivergent, it is hard to use online tools because I do it with my work. And a lot of our neurodivergent employees have had issues with with using Mural or Trello, for instance, tools like Google Jam to do that. I also work in corporate social responsibility with a lot of high school students, and they're tired of being on a computer all day, as is a lot of my fellow colleagues in my day job. So coming together would be great. And I also like how the vice chair brought up intellectual and neurodivergent different abilities and getting their perspective, as I am a member of the neurodivergent community as a person with autism spectrum disorder, and would appreciate learning about that different accessibility lens as well. And I think we have a great diverse range of committee and members, staff, and council members here. And I'm glad to be part of the committee and to move forward in the future on where we're to go. And I think we'll do some really good things together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Kristen, do you have anything to discuss?
I do. There was a couple things, Tracy, during what you presented that kind of came up, and especially kind of giving the context of kind of what is and is not in scope. It's easy to laugh about it now, an experience lately of trying to get around downtown Halifax, have been thrown out of my chair more times than I can count from potholes and cracks and whatnot. And the last time my coworker said, well, aren't you on this committee and can't you do something about it? And it kind of clicked this evening of quite possibly. And especially the bylaws, a personal experience of mine is green bins are incredibly heavy. You try and wheel backwards with two hands with a green bin. So trying to follow the rules of it can't be out before 7 p.m. the night before, it has to be back 9 p.m. the day of. Always wondering of like, is today the day I'm going to get a ticket for having my garbage can out because I have to find someone to bring it out for me and bring it in for me. Knock on wood, I have not gotten the ticket, but it's things like those of I understand the premise of that rule and why it exists, but you can tell that maybe not all pieces were thought through. So it was just helpful context to kind of know, okay, these are the types of things that might be within the scope of the committee to address and talk about, and then those things that might not be. And I recognize that I come from a physical disability lens, and that is the only experience that I possess. But going from someone who walked my entire 26 years in all around Halifax, moving from walking to wheeling, my geographic area in Halifax that has stayed for me has gone from everything to a very, very small chunk of the city that I can actually go to, enjoy, and be safe in. So just helpful information and really good conversation from folks that really resonated. So not so much question, just a lot of thoughts, kind of a brain dump.
And again, through you, Mr. Chair, we have another wonderful department, solid waste, that had started asking those questions because, again, this was something we were hearing from seniors about the green bins. We were also hearing from solid waste about our ability to communicate with persons who don't speak English as a first language. So again, that's another amazing division to have a conversation with, or to, bring in for a presentation. So there's a whole slew of wonderful divisions within the municipality that some are doing some really great stuff that we could, through even this committee, share information or gather information. So again, I just, when you mentioned the green bins, it made me think of, again, another wonderful group I've had the opportunity to work with in solid waste, who are always looking, or I'm finding are often looking, how do they address different issues that impact different communities differently?
Thank you, Kristen. I've addressed Annie. I've been in a wheelchair for 35 years, so I may have some guidance in terms of how to navigate a city that was built in 1749 in 2022. So
Yeah,
perhaps
I've done many months of wheelchair skills every day for hours, and it's still, you think you got it, and then there comes a crack or construction and the sidewalk ends and there's no way to get down. So I just rolled down Dresden Road the other day as an example.
Yeah.
So-
I have
You
stories.
can do
but,
wheelchair skills for hours and then still with navigating Halifax is horrible in a
yeah,
wheelchair.
we all could have hours on that, but not right here.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Thank you.
Elizabeth, do you have anything to add to our discussion about what we can and cannot do? And what it is we're here for?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, Annie here. I'm calling in. Was that directed to me?
That was good. I'm talking to Liz right now.
And I can't
Yeah.
hear Liz as an interpreter.
Sorry, yes, we're just gonna switch up there. The other interpreter's having a little bit of technical difficulty. Just one sec.
Seems like a virus today.
Yes, for sure. So I was just listening to the conversation and I'm just hearing everyone's sort of different perspectives. And mine, I think about a lot of visual sort of pieces for the visual accessibility. I feel like there isn't a lot of signage for where would be the appropriate way to go or how to get somewhere. A lot of times when I'm driving, I have a really difficult time seeing a lot of the signs. Sometimes it's just because there's a tree in the way of the sign and the sign isn't in a great position, or, shrubbery or trees or something have grown over and are now blocking it. Sometimes it's the type of sign as well. Sometimes too, I find when I come up to an intersection, you can't see if there's been, say, snow, for example, that's shoveled up onto the area, or whether it be a tree that is growing or a bush that's growing into that space. And sometimes I won't even go out into an intersection because of the blockage of the other lanes of traffic. I'll just turn left instead, where I feel it's a little bit of a safer sort of approach for me. But then that has me sort of making a longer route in order to pass through an intersection just because the signage isn't clearly visible. I'm sure that many of you notice when you've been driving as well, that sometimes you can't see around the corner of things when you stop at different intersections. Or I know a lot of hearing people, they could roll their window down and kind of keep a listen and see if there's traffic coming, but it's not something me or another deaf individual would actually be able to do. So, and yeah, I don't know if that would be a lens of things that other people have considered before, but signage for me is definitely an issue, particularly in the downtown core.
And again, through you, Mr. Chair, we have our transportation and public works, I believe is the proper name of the division now. Another opportunity to have some conversations. We've, through Melissa's office, transportation and accessibility comes up quite frequently. So again, another piece that might influence the work plan going down the road.
Hi, and this is Liz again. I'm just wondering if we're referring to, would it be Halifax municipal only, or would that be provincial? Are we able to affect Nova Scotia or only HRM?
So we impact HRM. So when it comes to roads and sidewalks and signage, we impact HRM, and maybe the councilors, thank you, Councilor Russell, could speak more specifically to how that works. Thank you, Councilor Russell.
Thank you. Yeah, we can certainly impact policies and procedures and things that the Transportation and Public Works Department, Tracy, you got that right. Certainly, we can impact what they do and what their policies are. We can also ask council to send letters to the provincial or the federal government asking them to consider something. We can't direct that they consider anything. To use a metaphor that I probably shouldn't use, we're low man on the totem pole. But we can certainly reach out and communicate with our colleagues or the other levels of government, just to let them know that we've encountered this particular issue. Can you please consider addressing it the same way that we have, or can you please come up with suggestions for addressing it? So, but this is something that we would do as a suggestion. Yeah, we can certainly impact anything that HRM itself does. Thank you.
Okay.
And I should add that it's not just the TPW department, it's also Halifax Transit, Parks and Recreation, any other department, corporate and customer services. If you're trying to call 311 and you can't call 311, or you can't speak to someone at 311 because of a language or a technical barrier, 311 has taken care of a lot of that by having, I think, 160 different languages that they support, and all sorts of manner of being able to get in touch with them either through different technical means or in person. But there still may be better ways for them to be able to interact. And having any suggestions about any of that type of interaction would be very helpful.
Okay, Liz, are you pleased with the way this is going?
Yeah, no, for sure. That looks good to me so far. If I have anything else, of course, like I'm sure everyone else does on my mind, these are things that we can talk about as we move along, correct? Not just all today, but we have future meetings as well.
We are a moving train, if you will, so we can talk whenever we need to. Okay. Thank you, Tracy, for your presentation. We've got a lot to think about in terms of how we proceed, and perhaps in discovering our newfound or re-energized power as a committee. So thank you for that. Now, Annie, the next item in the agenda involves you sharing your screen. Is that possible, given your myriad of technical difficulties today?
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me all right?
I can, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you so much. So my apologies for all of the tech issues today, folks. I just wanted to say that, like, I think all of the conversation that was just had around, a reinvigorated committee in terms of like the tools that you have to like influence policy and legislation within this municipality, they all are, integral to the way that this committee functions. And, the kind of like pairing of what Tracy was mentioning around, like, okay, well, this is a particular business unit that you could ask for that information from, or you could, have an impact on changing a bylaw or like a different legislative measure within the municipality. All of these are, like absolutely like on the table for this committee. And the intention of the work plan is to make sure that the committee as a group is working towards the same goals on a year-to-year basis. So the intention of, kind of sharing the work plan from last year with the committee was to kind of let everyone know, what like the final process would be that we were working towards. That takes the form of a work plan, but all of the topics that you were bringing up today was my intention of this first session to kind of let everybody know what we were working towards on paper, but to have an initial discussion about, the topics that you wanted to prioritize for the year, what you wanted to influence at the municipal level, learn more about, like make requests to executive standing committee to, all of that good stuff. But I think given the time that we are at, as well as the way that the discussion has gone today around the desire for, a separate space for a work plan, I would put forward that potentially it could be advantageous to the group to defer this item to a future special meeting of the committee, so that the special meeting could be dedicated to the brainstorming session and priority setting of the committee for the year, rather than, us trying to fit it all in for the rest of the day, so that we can approach it in a more intentional way in the future. But that is up to the committee to decide.
Okay. Do we want to proceed with the speakers list, Annie, or how do we proceed from here?
My apologies, there's a delay in unmuting. I would suggest that if there was a desire to have this item deferred to a future special meeting, that a committee member could put that motion on the floor, have it seconded, and then be voted upon. And then I would work with the chair and vice chair to make sure that that meeting happens before the next official meeting of the Accessibility Advisory Committee.
And Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to put the motion on the floor that the 2022 work plan discussion be deferred to a future special meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder?
I will second that motion, Mr. Chair. Jackie?
Thank you, Jackie. All in favor of the motion presented that we defer this to a special meeting where we hope we have technology, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We can get the bugs worked out, and Annie and I and Jackie will work on a time for a special meeting before our next meeting, which will be on June 20th. So moving right along. Okay.
And this is Liz. Sorry, I'm just wondering, is that going to happen on Zoom if we have a special meeting? Or will it be an in-person meeting or a hybrid?
I think probably we'll probably work toward getting it on Zoom, but that will have to be a discussion with Annie and Jackie and I.
And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to share that unfortunately hybrid meetings are not an option at the moment. We don't have the ability to live stream meetings and in person and virtually at the same time, but we can certainly work, but I will work with the chair and vice chair to find a solution that works for everyone with the tools that we have.
All right, so yes, we will have that discussion, and we will keep you all advised as to when that meeting will take place. Okay, so we have no committee members. I'm on item 9.2. So item 9.3.1 is a staff update on the Zatzman Sportsplex renovation. It's supposed to be from Darren, who is not here, but I think we may have a way of presenting that item. Annie, is that correct? I see Katie is hopefully providing a update on that.
Mr. Chair, sorry, this is Annie here. Darren is here with us in the meeting.
Oh, he is, okay.
Yes, he was just joining a bit late. So Darren,
Okay.
I've prompted for me. There you are.
My apologies, Darren, I didn't see you here.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I'll try to video here, but I'm having technical difficulties just as bad as Annie is. So, but I wasn't sure, Annie, you were able to run the video, so we're good because I was just trying to cue it up myself. So I'll quickly introduce, for those that don't know me, I'm Darren Young. I'm the manager of building infrastructure, a part of facility design and construction in the newly changed name of Property, Fleet, and Environment is our new business unit name. And so we did some renovations at Zatzman's Fourplex probably 4 years ago now. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we've been working on this project for that long. And what I was looking to do is bring some accessibility features that we've done here to the forefront and use it both as a marketing video for the Zatzman's Fourplex, but also an opportunity for a tool for this committee to show things that we've been working on and moving forward in promoting our work we've been doing as a group. So I have a draft video here ready for showing, and it is a compilation of the different accessibility features we've changed in the building since the renovations happened. And the voice overlay right now is still a draft version. It's the production manager. We do have somebody lined up to do it more. We got a couple of tweaks to make the video, but I'm just looking to see some feedback if anybody's got any major concerns with anything they'd like to see more clarification on, and that kind of stuff. So I will then now turn it over to run the video. I think it's about just under 3 minutes long, and we'll chat some more afterwards.
We can't hear the video.
Yeah, I was going to say the video doesn't seem to have volume.
Okay, just 1 second. Can you still not hear it?
We still can't hear it. You need to select that you're going to share volume, share audio rather, as well when you're going to play a video.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. So, Katie, this is Annie. When you click on the share screen option, there should be a little box at the bottom of that pop-up that enables you to share audio at the same time. If you click that and then share the screen, you should be good.
Awesome, thank you.
The Dartmouth
Much better.
Sportsplex has been renamed the Zatzman Sportsplex, and that's not the only thing that's changed. The space has undergone an extensive renovation to better serve our community. Let's take a look at some of the new spaces, specifically those with improved accessibility features. As you approach the building, you'll notice some aesthetic improvements and mobility features, including curb cuts and tactile warning indicator strips. The redesigned parking lot now has more than 12 priority parking spots. Sliding doors provide hands-free access to the building, and the airlock feature improves climate control year-round. The new welcome area is a central place to find information and assistance, and a hub to meet with friends and teammates pre or post-activity. Upgrades throughout the new Zatzman Sportsplex include wider hallways, a simplified layout, doorless entry into washrooms and change areas, gender-neutral washrooms, natural light, and improved automatic door buttons. The climate-controlled walking track around the perimeter of the rink seating is free for public use at scheduled times. Our renewed exercise area now boasts innovative equipment and includes more accessible options to better serve all members of our community. The change rooms have undergone significant renovations and feature optional private change stalls, accessible sinks, lower shower heads, and adult-sized change tables. A renewed aquatics area has a number of updated features to improve accessibility. A no-slip pool deck, access ramp, graduated depth in the training pool, walk or rollover activators for the water features in the splash area, redesigned water slides, and a variety of submersible wheelchairs. Designed for the 2012 Paralympics in London, the Pool Pod allows for autonomous entry to the pool from a wheelchair. A staff member can provide a pass that allows access to the pod with a swipe, roll on, and secure the door. The pod lowers into the pool and allows for easy swim-out exit. We are proud to be a centerpiece for active and healthy living. These renovations and updates help us better serve more members of our community. To find out more, visit satsmansportsplex.com.
So I apologize. The last bit of that video was lagging a bit, but yeah. So, Mr. Chair, I didn't know if you want to control the feedback. I think you got a list that you're going through, but I'm here to answer any questions, and I'll take notes as we go.
That was impressive. It's Michelle
Yeah.
here.
I do have a speakers list, so let's start speaking, shall we? Rochelle, are you here? And do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. And thanks for sharing that with us, Darren. That, I mean, it looks like a cool facility. Love a pool situation. So just to clarify, are we providing feedback just on the video itself, or like generally some of the like, can I ask a question about something that was noted in the video that's actually about like the accessibility of the space?
The main purpose was the video, but I will take any feedback on the accessibility space, and if we can improve it, we'll do that as well.
Cool, thanks. So yeah, I guess the first question is around like the video names lots of new or improved accessibility features. It seems like most of them are related to like mobility and like more inclusive sort of structuring and stuff. Although there was a little bit, I mean, still related to mobility, but specifically for visual impairments. I guess I'm wondering, like, there wasn't any note on like COVID safety in the video, which I would say is a pretty huge accessibility feature for a lot of people right now, or like lack thereof tends to lead to a lack of access for a lot of people, especially in these communities. So I'm wondering if there's any note on that, or if there's any planning, which I guess is both a question about that as an accessibility feature, but also the video itself, and if it were to mention that.
I can my video off, so I apologize, but my feed been spotty, so I apologize. But I'll answer that question 1 second. Okay, hopefully this is better now. The COVID-19 piece, of course, we started this video prior to that, so we did not have anything on that, but we could definitely add a piece to the front end. I think this is a video that's going to be around for a long time, and we don't want that. We're hoping this is going to eventually, tail off, and this is not something we're going to be talking about for the rest of our lives, hopefully. And so we could put a piece of the front end that we could edit out in the future on other versions of the marketing piece. But no, that's a good comment that we should definitely put something in there around COVID protocols that are currently in place. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I just, as much as we would like to see COVID go away, we're kind of in it now. And I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Like, so yeah, I always appreciate when people, actively sort of present that information so that I can make an informed decision of whether or not I want to like access the space. Yeah. And then my second question about like the actual accessibility of the space. I noticed in the video it said that the washrooms are doorless to provide extra accessibility. And I was wondering if the gender neutral washroom is also doorless, like if it's like a wide space or if there's like multiple single sort of like lockable washrooms, mainly because I see in a lot of places to use the gender neutral washroom, you actually have to get a staff member and be let in. And so I was wondering if the like accessibility features for the gendered washrooms are the same as the accessibility features for the genderless washroom.
Yes. So in the as you said, in the washrooms, there's no doorways coming in. So for the ones that are gendered, there's a viewing screen, for lack of better words, that blocks the ability to see in the washroom spaces. In the non-gendered washroom, or the universal is the word we like to use for our construction side, we have individual rooms. And I noticed, and it was said optional private stalls. They're not optional. These are the private stalls you go in, changed in, lock your door to your stuff. So not optional. We don't want people out changing at the benches. We want people into the room. So that's one that is actually coming out of the video. But yes, there's individual rooms both for toilet, washroom use and changing spaces.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Andrew, you're muted, but thank you for putting in the chat that I'm next. I appreciate that.
You are next.
Thank you. I have two comments, one on the video, and it might have just been a matter of timing, and the other on the facility itself. On the video, at the very beginning of it, the very first time that the word, I think it was disability or accessibility was used, it showed a set of stairs. And it might be better to just change the sequencing of it so that it doesn't show stairs when you're talking about disability, because of that being the predominant form of accessibility that has to be overcome. The second thing is on the facility itself, where it had the shot of the welcome desk. The word welcome was 3D indented, and that was great if you don't have any challenges with sight. If you do have challenges with sight and you need higher contrast, then having white on white or shadow on white would be very difficult to see. So if something was there to still keep it artistic, but not
I'm sorry,
be
that was
basic.
gray, was it? This is Liz. That was gray, was it? The welcome sign that you're referring to?
White on white.
White on white.
It was white on white.
Yeah, but it was 3D indented, so it was recessed. Anyway, if consideration could be given to something other than white on white, then that might be worthwhile. Those are my only comments. The video looks great. The building looks great. I can't wait to see that building and see those improvements find their way across HRM. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And this is Liz. Yeah, it would be really important not only for people with visual issues, with other sight issues as well, or other disabilities that may find that challenging.
Yeah, so thank you for that comment. So we did notice that during the videoing of that, and it really, you thought you had all this welcoming and inviting space, and then it popped out very quickly in that video that, if anybody with any kind of visual perception would not be able to see the two-tone contrast. So we are looking at adjusting that. So it was actually something the video pulled out that we had missed during the original walkthrough of the building. So it was nice. On the wording, I'll go back and watch the video in real time because we were having a bit of jumping there. And I will confirm if that word accessibility pops up, or disability, whichever it was, during the picture of the stairs. Yeah, I'll get them to adjust that in the scripting, but I'll make sure it was in that positioning, and we'll go from there. But thank you for those comments.
Thank you very much. And with that, I have to bid farewell for the evening. I hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
And this is
Have a great
Elizabeth.
evening.
I have a question. And I have a comment as well. I'm not finished. If I can say something else, this is Liz.
Yeah, my speaker list is very fluid, so you can go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's important. So I'd like to share if I can.
Yep, go for it.
And I noticed for the, well, actually I noticed two things, but one for the chairs for the seating areas. I noticed when some individuals have difficulties going from sit to standing position, and sometimes if the seating is a little bit too low, it can be challenging for those individuals to stand, particularly people with canes or seniors, that sort of thing. And also my other concern was the bathrooms and the changing rooms without the doors where you can just sort of walk in like that. I'm not sure that would be great, particularly for women that may feel uncomfortable for that. But also in the changing spaces, we want to make sure maybe that there's railings as well, so people can hold onto the railings in order to go from sit to stand if they're changing their footwear or whatever the case may be. So those are just two things that came to mind for me.
Okay.
That's
And
everything.
I'll have a look at those, but the walk-in spaces for no doors is to make it easier, and it kind of even ties back to COVID, less touch points and stuff like that. So, and like I said, there's individual stalls to go into, and I'll check to make sure that we have grab bars and railings in various locations to make sure somebody could use a grip point if they need to get up or to a standing position.
Councillor Diggle Gammon, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Darren. So true confessions, this is my second time. I did get to see this the other day at a training session. So it was impressive there too. The one thing to add to what was already spoken about, I just wonder, Darren, about some of the internal wayfinding. There was a beautiful image there around the non-gendered, the universal washroom, but I'm wondering if there is a little bit an opportunity to include some more internal wayfinding and what that might look like that enhances accessibility.
There is quite a bit of internal wayfinding that unfortunately, you can't pick up everything in the video, but we do have wayfinding directional signage to direct people around the building. We have had some feedback. Actually, I think this committee might even went through this building back in 2018 or 2019 as well and picked up on some of these points as well. So we have improved some we haven't had a chance because of COVID, but yes, yeah, it's something we're definitely looking at on the wayfinding.
Thank you.
Jordan, do you have anything to add to our discussion?
I don't have any points really to add that haven't been addressed already. I think everyone's done a good job addressing a lot of the points and a lot of the pressure, well, I call them pressure points that I saw in the video. I just say that I think it's good kudos for HRM for trying to do this. I volunteered and was a member of the Acadia Smile program back in Wolfville, and a lot of these updates that have been done at the Zaspin Sportsplex are very good when you compare it to the War Memorial Pool or the Acadia Athletics Complex. So hopefully that this can be used as a case study for a lot of other facilities within the province, both in terms of institutions and municipally. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mahoney, do you have any?
Thank you very much.
Darren, I thought like the video was excellent. I think I didn't even know that pool had a ramp. Was that just installed recently as well, or?
That's in the training pool, and I believe it's been there for a long time. I think they added a secondary one though with part of the renovations.
I'm really, really impressed. I was at a session last year, and it was in the basement of the Zatzman. So like the windows were out on the Wise Road there. And, but just there was a gender neutral washroom, like a single use washroom that was really easy to navigate, easy door to open. I'm really impressed with the new features that have been upgraded there. And I mean, that's the thing is, you know, you take a really old building like the Zatzman Sportsplex, and you know, if you can only do one thing at a time, right? And I mean, you know, kudos on the great work that you've done. And I mean, it can only get better, right?
Appreciate that, and I'll pass it on to the team.
Yeah.
Nicole, do you have anything to add? Or are you still here?
Yes, I am here. Sorry. I unfortunately missed the majority of the video because I was getting my supper, but I'm sorry, I just need to wash my sandwich down. I'm so sorry I missed the video, but yeah, I would love to comment on it because that's basically what I like doing the most is critiquing buildings and making recommendations on how it can be more accessible. So I can't really comment much because I've never been to the Zatzman Sportsplex, so I haven't seen the video. But yesterday, I was in the waterfront enjoying the sun yesterday, and we went to the Keys by Chocolate store. And this is just a thing that I thought was neat. It's also in the new public washrooms that are at Peggy's Cove. It's the automatic door opener, but it's like a big, huge one. So it's like for people, wheelchair users, that they can use automatic door opener, but they use their foot plate instead of their hand. And it's for people that, you know, can move their hands. And I find that, you know, very helpful. So people that can use their hands, they can still open doors and stuff. And especially during COVID, you know, I'm not a big fan of touching buttons or whatever. So using the foot plate button, accessible button, is helpful. Don't really know if that system is in the Zatzman Sportsplex, but that would be, useful.
All right, I was still muted. I apologize. Nicole, actually, unfortunately, you didn't get to see it because we do actually have those buttons there.
Oh, okay, good.
We did put those. Yeah, and all our new washroom buildings that we're doing, or all our buildings, I should say, going forward, are doing that. The new Fort Needham Park washroom building that's due to open here in June has them as well. So
okay, and
feedback
the front
that,
desk. Sorry, and the front desk. I'm just making sure. Is there like a low space for wheelchairs?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
For sure.
And washrooms actually make this common mistake, the stalls. It's a good idea for like a washroom stalls, accessible washroom stalls, for the door to open out rather than in, because you push it in and then I go into the stall, then I can't close the stall door. You know what I'm saying? So I've never been to the Sportsplex, so I don't know if the stall doors are out or in, or if it's just one big washroom.
Mostly individual rooms, and where possible we did open them out, because with the other challenge with opening door out is that if it's in the path of travel you could hit somebody. So where we could offset it in a hallway where it was not going to hit somebody, we've made them swing out, but the bulk of them do, and some of them do swing in, but the bulk are swing out, because the other safety feature is that if somebody falls in the washroom and the door only swings in and they've fallen up against the door, then we can't get the door open. So our preference is to have doors open out.
Right, yeah. The only The only place that I ran into that problem, I think, is in Willville at Joe's Restaurant, but I think they fixed it since I made that suggestion.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Jackie,
you.
would you like to end our conversation on this matter?
Yes, I will, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Darren, thank you very much for the presentation. I was one of the very fortunate people that got to do the tour a couple of years ago. And I think if there's a possibility at some time in the fairly near future, if there was that opportunity for people again, that would be great. The other, just very quick comment, realize we're at the end. Darren, I'm just wondering as well, in terms of advertising, I talk up the Sportsplex a lot with people, and I most often get, gee, I didn't know that, especially around the pool. So just a thought of maybe even some public, in newspapers or something at some point, maybe during Accessibility Week, to allow folks to know what beaches are accessible and what buildings might be accessible. Thanks again, Darren. It was a very good video.
Thank you, Jackie. And you're right, we don't do a good enough job promoting what we have. So this is part of why we're doing the videos. Atzmond will put it on their website, but if you're not going to the website, hopefully we can pick up maybe a news report on it or something like that now that COVID's starting to open some of these facilities up more. On the beach side, you're right, we have currently 3 beaches, and I'm working on a 4th beach for this summer that's going to be accessible with beach matting. So these are the things we need to promote more and figure out opportunities. And I'm always working with Melissa to figure out where we can do these and how we can do them better. So thank you very much for that comment.
Yeah, another question I had, sorry, Mr. Chair, was where can we access this video? Because I would really like to see it. We on the website, I assume.
Not yet, so it's still in draft form.
Okay.
Annie, when will this video be posted on the internet that somebody could go back and watch it and would see it at the end of the video?
So this will be, thank you, Darren, sorry, through you, Chair. This will be uploaded immediately following the meeting completion to YouTube. So the general Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting on YouTube for the HRM channel will be there probably like 10 minutes after the meeting concludes. And then I guess the timeline for the video itself is would be in Darren's shop for the final release.
Yeah, so Nicole, for that, you'd be able to see the draft version that everybody watched earlier, probably within the next half hour, and just scroll to the very end of the meeting and watch it. But like the goal is to hopefully have the final full version out within a month is our current goal.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Darren. Thank you for your presentation. Yes, folks, we are over time, and I believe that's partially my fault because another committee meets till 6:30. So I apologize for keeping you. We have now added items. So the date for our next meeting of the entire committee is June 20th, with the exception of the special meeting with the date to be determined. So keep your eye on your email for that one. Adjournment, could I have somebody move to adjourn the meeting?
I will so move, Mr. Chair.
I second it. This is Elizabeth. I wanted to move it first.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. We will do that. Okay, so thank you very much for